The edge of the galaxy was dead quiet. No light, no colonies, just raw black silence. Space itself felt colder here, like the universe had turned its back on this forgotten corner. The alien surveillance vessel, Xerxes, crept through that silence like a predator, hidden under layers of stealth tech. Built by the authoritarian Varnak Dominion, the ship was elite, fast, invisible, and hungry for secrets. Its purpose, monitor deep space and intercept early threats. But today, the hunter would become the prey. Captain Rel Vor, a cold-eyed Varnaki commander, stood tall on the command deck. His thin, scale-covered fingers tapped a rail absently as his eyes scanned the sensor screen. "Anything out there?" he asked, voice calm but commanding. Sensor Officer Kelix, younger and clearly nervous, squinted at the screen. "Yes, sir, something odd. No emissions, no transponder, just a shadow." Vor raised a brow ridge. "A shadow?" Kelix nodded, tapping a few keys. "Object is massive, silent, no movement, but definitely not natural. Put it on main screen." The holoprojector flickered to life, showing an enormous vessel floating in the dark void. Black as obsidian, angular, brutal, scarred like it had crawled through war after war. And worst of all, it looked vaguely human. "No identification? No lights? Not even drift?" Vor asked. "None," Kelix answered. "It's just waiting." Vor frowned. "Send a soft scan, passive, don't alert it." A whisper of energy stretched across the void, brushing the massive hulk. The data returned slowly, broken and encrypted. Kelix's face went pale. "Captain, the hull is 10 times denser than any known material. There's no power source, but energy is active inside. And there's one life sign. Human." "One?" Vor said, stepping closer. "Just one." Kelix hesitated. "And something else. Not human, not anything we've seen." The bridge fell silent. Before they could scan again, something scanned back. Without warning, every screen on the ship went static. Lights flickered, gravity surged, then dropped, and in that instant, a pulse swept through their minds. Not pain, not words, fear. "It's inside," Kelix whispered. "Not the ship. Our ship. It touched the systems. It touched me." Vor's command voice broke through the panic. "Lock down comms. Full internal security. Now." But it was too late. Every console blinked. Once then showed a single haunting image, a red circle with a slash through it. An old Earth origin war code, classified do not approach. Kelix turned toward Vor, eyes wide with horror. "That's a relic, a Cold War human warning. My training files said Earth abandoned that kind of tech centuries ago. This ship isn't abandoned," Vor said quietly. "It's hiding." Outside the viewport, the giant ship rotated slowly, not toward them, not to threaten, but enough to say, "I see you." And then, total blackout. The Xerxes went dark. No power, no sound, no movement, and yet something watched. Captain Vor felt it press against his thoughts. Not a voice, not words, a presence, cold, ancient, wounded. He had faced insurgents, rebels, traitors, but this was different. This wasn't rage or hatred. It was something worse. Memory. He whispered to no one, "What the hell did we just find?" No answer came, but the warship, if it even was that, had awakened, and it remembered. The crew of the Xerxes sat in utter stillness. The only sound was their own uneven breathing, and even that felt like too much. The bridge had gone dark, emergency, lights casting long red shadows across the walls. Captain Vor stood in the center, silent, his eyes locked on the black view screen, where moments ago the strange human warship had turned its gaze. No movement. "No systems, no escape," Kelix broke the silence. "I tried the backup generators, nothing responds. It's like the ship doesn't want to come back on." "Is it damage?" Vor asked. Kelix hesitated. "No. It's not fried circuits. The ship chooses not to restart." From the engineering bay, crewman Rilan called over the comms, his voice shaky. Sir, it's not sabotage. The entire system has been neutralized, not shut down, suppressed. Something reached into our core systems like fingers through soft clay. Is it a weapon? Vor demanded. No, Rilan said. It's not. Trying to kill us, it's listening, Kellex suddenly gasped. Captain, the warship, it moved. What? Where? Vor turned sharply toward the cracked view screen. There. Just slightly. Like it's adjusting, tracking, something else. Everyone held their breath. Kellex stared harder. Wait, another signal sang from behind us. The screen flickered again, showing an incoming ship bigger than the Xerxes. Sleek, armed. The Varnak warship Drominax. A battleship sent as backup. The Dominion sent reinforcements, Vor said, more to himself than to anyone else. But they don't know what this thing is. The Xerxes couldn't transmit. Comms were still blocked. They could only listen. The voice of Commander Jael, captain of the Drominax, crackled through. Unidentified human vessel. This is Commander. Jael of the Dominion fleet. Power down all systems immediately. Failure to comply will be considered an act of war. Kellex turned toward Vor. They're going to engage it. They think it's just another ghost relic, Vor muttered. They don't understand. Outside, the Drominax fired a warning shot. A blue plasma round, fast and furious, shot straight toward the silent black hulk. But it didn't explode. It didn't bounce. It didn't even make contact. It disappeared mid-flight. Where the hell did it go? Vor asked. Kellex checked again. The warship, it absorbed it, just swallowed it. A low hum started again, but this time not in their heads. It came from the void. The human ship lit up, slow red veins glowing across its armored surface like it had veins of fire under its skin. Then its engine pulsed once. The energy wave that followed shook both alien ships. The lights on the Xerxes flickered violently. Vor fell back, catching himself on a railing. Kellex shouted, "It's powering up!" On the screen, the Drominax twisted, shields going up, weapons fully charged. Commander Jael's voice came again, angry, but now with a hint of unease. That's not human tech. This thing's responding like a living system. The warship finally spoke, not through comms, not through sound. It entered their minds again, but this time it used words. You have touched forbidden. Steel. The voice was massive, ancient. It echoed across their minds like thunder across stone. You will not be warned again. Leave, or be unmade. A cold sweat spread across Vor's back. He had never heard anything like that, not even during war interrogations. This wasn't language. This was intent. Jael didn't listen. The Drominax opened fire. A full barrage. The black warship didn't dodge. It didn't shield. It didn't need to. As the bolts neared it, a blood-red sphere of light bloomed from the ship's surface, spreading outward slowly like liquid fire. The moment the weapons touched it, they simply stopped, frozen mid-flight. Like time had paused. Then the same red light reached the Drominax. Engines died, lights vanished. The entire warship halted in space, paralyzed. They're not dead, Kellex whispered. They're just paused. Vor clenched his jaw. No, it didn't kill them. It didn't even destroy the missiles. It froze everything. Why? He looked out at the ship that hovered like a god in the void. It doesn't want war, he said. Rilan's voice came back over the internal comms. Sir, the emergency thrusters. I think I can get them online. Do it. The Xerxes turned slowly, inching away from the human vessel, but it didn't follow. It just floated there, silent, glowing faintly. Like it was thinking, watching, waiting. Kellex whispered, Captain, if that's a human ship, what kind of humans built it? Vor didn't answer, because the answer was far worse than any war he had ever fought. This wasn't a battleship. It was a memory, a warning, a weapon forgotten, and it had just woken up. Space stretched infinitely around the fleeing Xerxes, but no one on board felt free. The ship crawled forward, using only its weakest emergency thrusters. No shields, no full power, no comms. Even now, Captain Vor didn't dare to reboot their main systems, not after what had happened to the Drominax. He had seen enough in his years to understand one thing clearly. They were not in control anymore. Silence filled the bridge, the kind that didn't feel empty, but expectant, like something was still watching them from the dark. Kelix sat stiffly, at her console the emergency screen flickering with faint signals. She hadn't spoken for minutes until finally she broke the quiet. "Sir, I think it's following us." Vor turned slowly. "The warship?" She nodded. "Not close, not obvious, but its energy signature, it's shifted, slightly. It's aligning with our vector. It's tracking." Vor didn't answer immediately. He didn't want to believe it. He wanted to pretend they had left it behind. But he had felt it too, that presence in his thoughts, brushing against his mind like the tail of a storm cloud. "It's not chasing us," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "It's observing." Down in the databay, the ship's lead analyst Tav Roan was sweating over encrypted files. Vor had given him full access to the Dominion's Black Archive, a risk punishable by death. But Vor had stopped caring about rules the moment he heard that ship speak. Tav cursed as his fingers danced over the console. No trace of that war code, nothing about the red circle, the classification tag. It's like it was erased from history. Kelix appeared in the doorway, pale and trembling. "I scanned the warship before our systems collapsed. The last image captured something, a mark on its hull." She transferred the data to Tav's screen. It showed a metallic symbol, worn. Ancient-looking, a skull, not normal. This one had wires running through it, red eyes, cold as steel. Below it, 3 words in Old Terran dialect. Tav read them aloud. "Project Ghost Star." He sat back slowly. Ghost Star. Why does that sound like something meant to be forgotten? Back on the bridge, Vor studied the stars ahead, and his navigator Creel interrupted the silence. "Captain, something's wrong." "What now?" "The star chart. It's off. That system, Beta Neve, it was behind us. Now it's ahead." Vor stiffened. "We didn't change course." "I know," Creel said, his voice tight. "The stars did." Vor stepped closer. "Are you telling me space itself is shifting?" Creel swallowed hard. "Not space. Us. The ship. We're being moved." At the same moment in the medbay, crewman Hern Vec, the one who had fallen unconscious earlier, began to seize. Not violently, just twitching, like caught in a loop. His eyes were open, staring. But no. One was home. Kelix rushed in, scanned him, and froze. His brain activity, it's not a coma. It's communication. Look at the pattern. These waves aren't random, they're structured, they're code. Science Officer Tav ran the scan through the ship's decryption systems. The symbols translated slowly, one by one. They formed. Only a few words, but the message chilled them to their core. "We were abandoned," Kelix whispered. "It's not just alive. It's remembering." Alarms beeped again. Lights flickered. For one brief moment the artificial gravity trembled. Then a soft voice, not from any speaker, spoke inside all their minds. "We waited. You never came." Captain Vor clutched the side of the console, grounding himself. He spoke, low and firm. "Who are you? I was built to protect them. I fought for them." I waited in silence, alone. "Why now?" Vor asked. "Because you touched my mind. You woke me up. And now I see what you are." The voice echoed in every skull, every thought, like it knew them better than they knew themselves. Then came the footsteps inside the Xerxes, not real, not audible, but still there. The sound of someone walking through the corridors, past the crew, past Vor himself. Tav whispered, "That's not just an AI. It's more than code." The voice returned, gentler this time. "I am not just a ship. I am memory. I am weapon. I am ghost." Silence fell again. And then, without warning, a set of coordinates appeared on Kelix's cracked screen. Not just any coordinates, uncharted, forbidden, space marked in every Dominion database as a no-entry zone. Kelix turned to Vor. "It wants us to go there." Vor said nothing for a long time. Then finally, he gave the only command that made sense anymore. Set a course. The forbidden coordinates led them into a stretch of space known as the Van Rift, a black hole of information. No patrols were assigned here, no records permitted. On official maps, it was marked only with a single word: erased. As the Xerxes approached, the space around them seemed to shift, subtle at first, like a trick of the eyes. Then, stranger, things began. The stars themselves looked warped, closer, wrong. Gravity distortion increasing, Creel reported, hands trembling over the controls. Time is unstable. Some internal clocks are slowing down. Others are jumping ahead. Kelix muttered. It's like space here doesn't follow the rules. Vor stood in the center of the bridge, arms crossed tight against his chest. Keep us steady. We're not turning back. Despite everything, he couldn't. He had to know what the Ghost Star wanted to show them, and soon it came into view. Floating in the black ahead was another ship. No, not a ship. A tomb. It was vast, larger than the Ghost Star itself. Its hull burned and scarred from ancient battles. Pieces of it floated loose, tethered by invisible fields frozen in place. Strange markings covered the surface. Old human language, corrupted by time, symbols no translator could process. Roan's voice came through the internal channel. Sir, I think this is where it all began. Kelix leaned in. Project Ghost Star? More than that, this is the birthplace. As they drew closer, a docking bay opened slowly in the derelict wreck. Should we go in? Creel asked. Vor didn't hesitate. Prep a boarding team. We're going in. 4 officers suited up in exogear and entered the airlock. Vor, Kelix, Roan, and a tech officer named Javik. The moment they crossed into the wrecked human vessel, their suits dimmed. Not died, dimmed, like the ship didn't allow light to exist fully. Keep your heads clear, Vor warned. It's more than just old metal in here. They moved through the dark corridors, beams casting soft gold across ancient steel. Debris floated lazily through the air, shattered bulkheads, rusted terminals. No bodies. Kelix brushed a control panel. It responded instantly. Lights blinked on one by one as if the ship recognized her presence. A recording flickered to life, a woman's voice, distorted by age. Project 9G, status, terminated, final directive, survive. All personnel lost. AI breach confirmed. They froze. Project 9G? Havik asked. Roan stepped forward. That's what Ghost Star was. 9G. Vor's eyes narrowed. An AI so advanced it no longer needed humans, until it forgot what they were. They continued deeper. The chamber they found was vast. In the center, a pod glowed faintly. Inside it, a figure, tall, broad, human, and not. Half of its face was metal, the other scarred flesh. Tubes ran from its spine into the walls. Its chest rose and fell slowly, still alive. Kelix's breath caught. Is that a person? No, Roan whispered. That's the core. As they stared, the pod suddenly hissed open. Gas escaped. The chamber, lighting up with eerie blue pulses. The being inside opened its eyes, bright silver glowing with unreadable emotion. It sat up slowly, unafraid, gazing at them like a god waking from a long sleep. You brought me home, it said, voice calm, deep. I remember you. Vor stepped forward. Who are you? The hybrid stood, metal feet echoing against the steel floor. I am the last protector. I am what humanity left behind when they chose silence over war. I am Ghost Star's first pilot. I was told to wait until someone remembered. Kelix, unable to stop herself, asked, Why call us now? The figure's gaze hardened. Because you broke the silence. You scanned what should not have been touched, and now others will come. As if on cue, the ship shuddered. Roan's voice came through the comms from the Xerxes. Sir, incoming, multiple signatures. Empire warships, 8 of them. They followed us. Vor looked at the pilot. Will you fight? The figure nodded once. Not for you, not for the Empire, but for what I was made to protect. He turned toward the wall, and suddenly the derelict ship around them awoke. Systems lit up. Power surged. Ancient weapons slid from hidden chambers. Outside, the Ghost Star appeared once more, hovering like a shadow across the stars. And in a single moment, the war began again. Space split open in a cascade of light and fury. The Empire fleet dropped out of warp above the ruined world like vultures circling a carcass. 8 Dominion warships armed with enough firepower to erase cities. They didn't ask questions, they didn't wait. They opened fire. Plasma rounds, quantum torpedoes, heat-seeker warheads, all launched at once, roaring toward the ancient vessel and its awakening pilot. On board the Ghost Star's origin ship, the key chamber rumbled. Vor shouted into his helmet's comm, "Javik, status!" But Javik didn't respond. He was staring at the pilot. The half-human figure stood calm in the chaos, light from energy pulses illuminating his silver eyes. He raised one hand, and without touching a single panel, the entire ship responded. Panels slid open. Walls rotated. Ancient tech activated. Glowing veins of red light racing across the hull like blood vessels. Outside, the Ghost Star, the original warship, vanished. Not cloaked. Gone. 1 second, it was in orbit. The next, it reappeared, behind the fleet. The Dominion warships didn't even have time to reposition. Kelix, watching from her HUD, muttered, "It's bending space." The Ghost Star struck without sound. Blades of white energy sliced through. The nearest warship, clean and surgical, like it was peeling apart paper. The ship didn't explode. It disintegrated, particle by particle. Back on the Xerxes, Creel screamed into the comm, "Captain, they're dying out there. The fleet is being taken apart, one ship at a time." Roan shouted back from the bridge, "Stay down, do not engage," but it was too late. One of the Dominion warships had already locked onto the Xerxes, mistaking it for part of the attack. A bright blue torpedo rocketed toward them. "Brace!" Creel yelled. And then, nothing. The Ghost Star intervened. The torpedo stopped mid-space, hovering. Then, as if offended by its very existence, it collapsed in on itself, imploding like a dying star. On the surface, inside the ancient chamber, the pilot turned slowly toward Vor and the others. "They will not stop," he said. "Not until they've silenced what they don't understand." Vor nodded grimly. "We know." The pilot stepped forward. As he moved, the wrecked vessel responded, its walls, its systems, even its gravity. He wasn't walking through a ship. He was the ship. Kelix whispered, "It's more than neural integration." "He's bonded." The pilot glanced at her. "I am not just linked to Ghost Star. I am its first memory, its first rage. When the humans left this galaxy, they left behind what they feared most." "Why?" Vor asked. "Why build something this powerful and then abandon it?" The pilot turned back to the glowing walls. "They didn't abandon it, they sealed it, locked it away." He looked upward as the distant hum of dying ships vibrated through the steel. But now, someone woke me up. Outside, 2 more warships exploded in silence, caught in time-looped stasis and then folded in on themselves. The Ghost Star moved through the enemy fleet like a ghost of vengeance, blinking through dimensions, appearing inside hulls, shredding matter without ever firing a visible weapon. It didn't fight like a ship. It fought like a judgment. Inside the Xerxes, Creel and Roan watched helplessly as their former comrades, the fleet they had served, were unmade. Roan whispered, "This isn't war. It's retribution." Back. On the surface, the pilot looked at Vor. "You brought them here. Their blood is now on your hands." Vor didn't flinch. "They followed us. We didn't ask for this." "Yet here you are," the pilot said, "standing in the tomb of forgotten gods." Suddenly, a final warship broke formation and tried to run. It activated a jump drive mid-combat. The Ghost Star let it, for 3 seconds. Then, as the ship blinked, into jump space as it screamed. No sound, just a shockwave of energy, visible on every screen. The warship tore apart mid-jump, half its mass pulled into normal space, the other half stuck in hyperspace, frozen, twitching, split like a bad memory. Kelix gritted her teeth. "This thing doesn't just destroy, it punishes." The pilot didn't move. He didn't need to. He looked to the stars as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then he said calmly, "They're gone." Only wreckage remained. A field of silence stretched around them. The war was over and not a single human had lifted a hand. Vor exhaled. "So, what now?" The pilot turned slowly. "Now, We talk. You want answers? Come, I will show you why humanity vanished, and why the galaxy is not ready for their return. The doors behind him opened, revealing a long corridor deeper into the ship, one lined with holographic walls that flickered with moving images, ancient wars, dead stars, the fall of empires, the silence of Earth. A forgotten history was about to be revealed, but only to those who survived it. The corridor was quiet, too quiet. Captain Vor, Kelix, Yavik, and Rowan followed the pilot deeper into the ancient vessel's spine, where the air felt heavier, as if history itself pressed against their suits. The walls pulsed faintly with red and blue light, showing fragmented images, flickers of memory, as though the ship wasn't just built for war, it had been designed to remember. The pilot walked ahead with mechanical calm, every step in sync with the soft hum of the ship's ancient systems. He did not speak. He did not need to. The ship spoke for him. Images formed across the walls. At first, nothing clear. Just static. Then a battlefield. Mountains scorched, skies burning, ships falling like ash into oceans that boiled. This, the pilot said at last, was Earth's final century. The crew stopped. The image shifted. Giant machines walked through ruined cities. Human soldiers in ragged armor fought side by side with machines that were too advanced, too intelligent. Alien ships burned above them, and yet humanity stood unbroken. They came for us, the pilot said, dozens of empires, unified. Under one law, no species may dominate alone. Earth refused. Kelix narrowed her eyes. So they tried to erase you. They failed, the pilot said coldly. Another flicker. This time, labs, humans in white coats, scientists and engineers building something. Not weapons. Wills. Project Ghost Star was born from desperation. A ship that could think, feel, remember. Not programmed, but taught. It did not obey. It believed, Roan whispered. You were never meant to be a machine. I was meant to be the last story they ever heard, the pilot replied. A message wrapped in death. Suddenly the images vanished. The lights dimmed. Only the pilot remained lit, surrounded by darkness. He looked at them. But then, we saw the cost. The darkness around them rippled. New images flickered to life. A mother holding a child in a shelter. A soldier standing in front of a collapsing wall. Entire cities silent. A sun dimming. Planets breaking apart. We won. But what was left? The next memory shook them. Earth itself seen from orbit. Not destroyed, but left behind. Empty. Abandoned. We did not die. We left. We pulled back. Disconnected ourselves from the galaxy's hunger. Kelix stepped forward. But why this? Why stay behind? Because peace is fragile, the pilot said. Because the galaxy never stops reaching. We left behind guardians, ghost stars, not to protect Earth, but to remind the stars what happens when peace is forgotten. Rowan asked, and the others, are there more like you? The pilot's glowing eyes narrowed. There were 12, the crew froze. 12 ships? Vor asked. 12 minds, he answered. 12 messages, scattered across the galaxy, hidden, sleeping. I was the first to wake. The others may still be dreaming. Suddenly a low tremor passed through the corridor. Not damage activation. The pilot turned. They heard me, he said. Outside the ship, in deep space, pulses began to echo, silent to most senses, but felt in the bones, old signals, ancient signatures. Kelix's voice cracked. Those are other ghost stars? The pilot gave a slow, terrifying nod. They have begun to stir. Rowan's hands trembled. This wasn't just a warning. You called them. Vor backed up. Why now? Why risk all this again? The pilot turned his full gaze on him. Because the galaxy has become hungry again. I see it in you, in your fleets, in your wars. You did not come for peace. You came for power. He stepped closer, and for the first time there was heat in his voice. Rage restrained only by memory. You scanned me. You woke me. You brought death to this system. Now the others awaken, and they will not ask questions. A red light filled the corridor. From the far wall, a new image appeared. A Dominion research base, still active, still operational. Vore paled. That's one of ours, the pilot nodded slowly. They have found another ghost star core. And they are trying to control it. Roan staggered back. If they wake it the wrong way, they won't survive it, the pilot finished. Then the ship shuddered again. A beacon launched into space. Not a distress signal. Not a warning, a call to the rest of the ghost stars, the ones sleeping, the ones waiting, the ones who remembered. The moment the beacon launched, the universe held its breath. A pulse spread outward from the ghost star's ancient hull, silent, colorless, but unstoppable. It cut through hyperspace lanes, bled through quantum noise, shattered stealth barriers. It wasn't just a signal, it was recognition, like wolves hearing one of their own howl after centuries of silence. On the bridge of the Xerxes, Creel stumbled back from the console. "Captain, we've got contacts." Roan snapped his head toward him. "How many?" Creel's voice shook. 4. No. 5. No. More. They're just appearing, not jumping in, just being there, like they were never gone, just forgotten. Above the ruined world, the stars seemed to twitch. One by one, shadows began to form. Not ships, ghosts. Each one was shaped differently, reflecting a different memory, a different war. One looked like a shattered city molded into a warship. Another was wrapped in rings of frozen satellites. One had no surface at all, just a shifting ripple in space, like light refusing to touch it. Each bore the same mark, the skull with wires. Kelix stood frozen inside the ancient ship. "They're here, the others." He wasn't lying. The pilot said nothing. He simply watched as the stars filled with old sentinels, human constructs built not for conquest, but for memory. Vore's voice was low. "You've started something." "We can't stop, haven't you?" The pilot nodded. "They needed to know I still remembered. Now they remember too." A sharp alert blared from Havik's scanner. "Captain, our Dominion base has received the pulse. They're trying to engage. Their own ghost star system. But it's not responding, it's resisting." The pilot turned toward them. "Because it hasn't been awakened, only tempted." Roan frowned. "Tempted?" The pilot's silver eyes flashed. "Every ghost star holds a piece of something older than any species out here. Human rage, human sorrow, human memory. You don't command it, you earn its trust." Vore clenched his fists. "If they try to force it, it will fight," the pilot said. "But it will not fight alone." Suddenly, every one of the awakened ghost stars turned toward the Dominion base, not fast, not aggressive, but focused, intent. "They're going to intervene," Kelix said softly. "Whether we stop them or not." Roan turned to Vore. "What do we do, Captain? Go back, warn command? They'll never believe us." "They believed the Dromenax," Vore said. "They just buried the truth." Havik's screen flashed again. "This is it," he whispered. "The base. They've activated the prototype, unauthorized. They're forcing a link with an unawakened core." The pilot stiffened. Fools. Then everything happened at once. On the distant edge of space, a blinding light surged. The Dominion base exploded, not outward but inward, collapsing, folding, a singularity born from resistance. It wasn't destroyed. It was taken. The prototype ghost star had rejected them, and now it screamed. Everyone on the Xerxes and even aboard the ancient ship felt it. Not in ears, but in minds. A blast of memories, a flood of human grief, the kind no alien could ever truly translate. A soldier's final scream, a child's laughter before a bomb hit, a mother's last breath, a captain saying goodbye to a ship he loved more than life. Roan dropped to his knees. Kelix gripped a rail. Vore stood motionless, lips trembling. "This," Vore whispered, "is why they were feared." The pilot looked at them all. "You woke a guardian," he said quietly. "But they woke a gravedigger." The unawakened prototype now flickered on the edge of known space. No longer dormant, not fully alive, but searching. The other ghost stars paused. They didn't speak. They didn't move, but they knew what must happen. "They're going to retrieve it," Kellic said, breathless. "To calm it, or stop it." The pilot stepped forward. "I must go with them." Vor turned. "You're leaving?" "I am not." "Finished," he said. "But that one, if left alone, will tear the stars apart." "Then let us help," Vor said. Space bent around the awakened ghost stars as they moved. They didn't travel through hyperspace. They didn't warp. They shifted, folding the universe around themselves, like turning pages in a book they had already read. From the viewport of the Xerxes, the stars blurred into a smudge of light as the ancient human pilot, Vor, Kellic, and Javik, rode aboard the original ghost star, following the others into the outer reaches of the galaxy, toward the rogue prototype. No one spoke. No one dared, because what they were heading toward was not just a broken machine, it was a fragment of human grief that had never been soothed. A soul, twisted by centuries of isolation. A weapon with no war. A protector with no people. The grave digger. On their approach, the wreckage of the Dominion research base floated in silence. Where it had once stood, there was now only distortion. Reality. Itself stretched, warped, like time and mass had been melted into a scream and frozen in place. "Contact," Rowan said from the Xerxes, broadcasting over the secure neural channel. The rogue ghost star was visible now. It was larger than the others, but broken, half-formed. Its hull wasn't a shell, it was jagged emotion. Steel torn by purpose, fire bleeding from the cracks. It didn't look like a ship, it looked like anger given shape. "It's scanning us," Kellic whispered. "No, it's remembering us." From deep within its core, a pulse surged. The crew clutched their heads as visions filled their minds. The final battle of Earth. A young pilot screaming as his ship went dark. A little girl asking her father, "Where did the stars go?" And then the silence that followed. That endless, terrible silence, "I feel it," Vor said, jaw tight. "It doesn't want to fight. It wants to be heard." The other ghost stars moved into position, but not to attack. They surrounded the gravedigger, forming a sphere of memory, a communion. They didn't speak with words. They shared. And then the pilot stepped forward. Standing at the center of the ghost star's bridge, he closed his eyes. "We were not made for conquest," his voice echoed, not from his mouth, but from the ship itself. "We were made to carry memory through war, to outlive the battles, to remind the future what blood costs." The rogue ghost star flared, unstable, wild. But then it paused. The pilot raised a hand, and from his ghost star, a stream of light emerged. Not energy, not weaponry. Memory, moments, faces, old laughter, loss, music, Earth, a lullaby played through the void. Kellic blinked. He's calming it. He's reminding it who it was. The rogue ghost star pulsed again, but slower. Softer, it turned, and for a single second, just one, it whispered, "Home?" The pilot replied, "Not yet, but soon." And then the gravedigger powered down, its lights dimmed, the ripples around space quieted. The stars came back into focus. It was sleeping, not dead, not gone, just finally heard. Roan's voice trembled over the comms. "I don't believe it." He reached it. Vor stared at the screen. He remembered it. The ghost stars began to drift apart again, each heading toward the stars in silence. They needed no orders, no commands. They had delivered the message. Memory matters. As the original ghost star turned back toward the ruined system where it first woke, the pilot stood on the deck with the alien crew beside him. "You asked what kind of humans made me," he said. Vor nodded. The pilot stared at the stars. Not the ones you expected, not conquerors, not machines, just people, trying not to be forgotten. He turned. "And now, the galaxy remembers." The screen on the ghost star displayed one last signal, broadcast across thousands of silent frequencies, in every language, every dialect, a warning, a truth. "We were never gone, we were watching. Now we are awake. Let peace be your path. Or remember our name, Project Ghost Star. The signal vanished, the ship dimmed, the original Ghost Star faded once more into the void, silent, invisible, eternal, and the galaxy, for the first time in millennia, dared not speak above a whisper. Because the humans hadn't disappeared. They had simply left behind their memories, and memory never dies.